As Bernie said, I'm Mary Griffin, Commissioner of the Massachusetts Department of Fish and Game. The good news is, in Massachusetts, we have a long tradition of collaborating and working together to face and find innovative solutions to the most difficult problems. So I hope today will be a renewed effort to embark on that collaboration. There are at least two big picture messages that I hope you'll think about today as you hear more specific speakers. And hopefully you will carry with you when you leave this conference today. And the first is that there are concrete actions that all of us can take to be climate smart and to build climate smart strategies into our work every day. To sort of bring that down to what we do at the department, we intend to take a broad-based look, and already are, to incorporate scientific work on climate change in the decisions that we make every day. You'll hear about later today a scientific project that we're working on with MANMET at the Nature Conservancy with the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife to evaluate the comparable vulnerabilities of fish and wildlife habitats in this state to the changes of climate change. The fact that we're working on this project is a direct result of having a good state wildlife action plan in place. And we very much appreciate the support of the National Wildlife Federation and the Doris Duke Foundation, and both on the scientific project and on implementing our state wildlife action plan. We also look forward to working with other partners as we build this scientific model into our work. For example, we'll be working with Mass Audubon to incorporate the vulnerability analysis into their next edition of Losing Ground, which is Audubon's wonderful measurement of how we lose open space and the rate at which we're losing open space and habitat in Massachusetts. At Fish and Game, we anticipate climate science will be maybe not the deciding factor in our decision making, but it will be something that we build into what we do across the board. And I'll just give you some quick examples of that. It's important for setting priorities. In our land acquisition program, we have a very robust land acquisition program. We protected over 6,000 acres last year, and I think hope to even top that this year. It makes sense to look at the habitat mix that we have in our conservation portfolio. What types of habitats do we want in a conservation portfolio as we buy new parcels in the light of warming climates? It also makes sense to look at this as we try to implement our state wildlife action plan. What at-risk species and habitats do we set targets for our restoration efforts? It makes sense to look at this in our aquatic restoration programs as well. Riverways, Division of Marine Fisheries, they both do aquatic restoration. Climate change is a way to look at those habitats and set priorities. And last but not least, we manage over 170,000 acres through the Division of Fish and Wildlife of habitat in our wildlife management areas. Our land management techniques and restoration priorities can be guided by a close look at how those habitats will change with warming temperatures. So in a world of limited resources, which unfortunately today certainly is, it makes sense to incorporate climate change into thinking of almost everything that we do. The second big picture message that I hope everyone will consider and hopefully walk away committed to is that this should not be a one-day event. We hope to build upon the strong network of conservation leaders who are sitting here today to share information, resources, and ideas. This is a global problem. Our natural communities are going to change and realign in very complex ways. If anybody comes up and says, I've got this all figured out, exactly how this is going to roll out, my take on that is they should be viewed with a healthy dose of skepticism. But even though we don't have it all figured out, this should not, as Bernie said, be a reason to despair or to fail to act. It should instead make us even more committed to do what we do especially well here in the state of Massachusetts. Our conservation community should collaborate, share resources, share knowledge and information.